What's up, guys? Tambo here with your weekly core report. It's another monster week for Run Pure Sports members, including another Millie Maker shipper. Let's get to the winners. The World Cup continued to print for our members. Rubio and Jaime have been producing winning content throughout the event, and last week was no different. IPT 007 hit for 6K. K. Reed won 7K. Bobby Hare hit for 10K, while Rubio himself shipped another 16K. We pride ourselves in offering just about every sport for one low price. We'll put our content for all sports up against any competitor when it comes to producing winners. Steve Boynton has been on fire in college basketball, helping our members ship, as well as himself hitting for 2K. Jay Gingery 912 joined him, winning 3K. In the MMA streets, Hoop shipped for 30K using Titletown's playbook. And it's not just on DraftKings where we produce the winners. For prize picks this week, Du Bois hit for $500 and C. McDonald 1016 won $2,500 using our NBA prize picks content. Speaking of NBA, Jesse Samek hit for 6K while Mangone nailed his core and shipped for 8K. This has been a successful NFL season for Run Pure Sports, making people a ton of money. This week, we produced our second Millie Maker winner of the year. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already to access all our free NFL content. Our members' ROI has been off the charts this season. In week 13, You Should Be turned $80 into 8K. Motor City 2 DFW turned $50 into 5K. King of the North hit for 15K, and I finished in 6th place in the King of the Beach contest, winning 40K. But the biggest winner by far was RPS member Alicia Hunt, who turned $240 into over $1 million.
So typically what I do is I'll go over, the core plays, look at Big T stuff a lot. And what I did was I took bits and pieces of what I liked, and then I threw in some of the stuff that I like.
Congrats again to all our members. If you want to be featured in the core report, drop your winning lineup in the Members Never Win channel in our premium Discord. If you're not a member, join now. You won't find a better value, all sports included, for one low price. While you're watching, hit that like button now. Remember, if you're not winning with us, you're watching us win. Till next time, let's keep running pure.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports NBA Hardwood show. We're here breaking down the small 3-game slate, but as always, prize pools are big around the industry. The team stays hot. We had the $1 million winner on our show yesterday, Alicia Hunt. Congratulations to her. We had some soccer winners. It looked like this afternoon, Big T with yet another big shipper. It looked like about 20,000 or so in soccer. I shit on soccer, but man, the content over here at Run Pure has just been absolutely phenomenal and spot on, and that's part of our premium product here. So if you come on over to runpuresports.com, you get access to everything, including that World Cup. And man, it's just you look around the industry, people are charging extra for World Cup content. It's a tough scene. So Run Pure Sports, you get absolutely everything. As I said, we got a small little 3-game slate. I guess the biggest piece of news that we're waiting on is Kyle Lowry. He's officially listed as questionable. They've already ruled out Jimmy Butler. So based on what happens with him, that could kind of shift this slate and the guys that are in play. Toss it over to you, Mangone. Any initial thoughts here on this 3-game slate?
Yeah, it's going to be a fun little 3-game slate. We got this Kyle Lowry news that could be big. Obviously, things can shift with that, so should be a lot of fun to talk about that. I mean, it's a slate too where stars and scrubs is going to be tough to do because we have these expensive guys to go to. But you see, the chat wants to know. We got to ask. Well, what body part has been chopped off? I mean, the chat's still asking. You lost your bet with the Drake London thing. What did JT Hayes pick for you?
Well, he did. He got me good a couple ways. Yesterday, when I logged in to do my core plays for NBA, he had Drake London. I did see that. He had Drake London in all 5 of my core plays, which I momentarily changed to, 5 in a row. Fuck you, JT Hayes. So got him back for a moment. So he got me that way, and then he did say on Twitter, I was complaining about everybody saying player X is him every time.
I do agree with you on that.
Player does. It's like the thing you say if you can't think of anything original to say for yourself or anything insightful, so you just say he's him anytime someone makes a good play or has a good game. I was bitching about that, and he said he responded saying Drake London is him, and now give me your kidney. So apparently he wants my kidney. I would rather give him my liver. I'll give him my liver. I don't need it anymore. I don't know how well it's working these days. So you can have that, I guess, as the body part if that's a reasonable substitute.
Yeah, JT is not letting you off the hook. You do realize that. I mean, this will go on for a while, I assume. But I did see the Drake London in the core plays in every spot yesterday for NBA.
I got a good laugh when I logged on, and it was all Drake London in the core.
But I do agree with you on the he is him or what. I mean, so many people are using that. It's just come on, let's move on. Like it's you say it a couple times. At least everyone's moved on from what's the other one everyone used to do, the like. Like when they're trying to point something out, like everyone moved on from that. They've moved on from the GM. Although I meant to tweet that out because my son, 8 years old, he's got the tablet. It's connected. It's kids messenger basically, so you can send messages to kids. I didn't know if he was up or not, so I sent him a message on kids messenger. He hit me with the GM. Hit me with the GM. I said, good morning. His response was GM. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's a little concerning, Hoop.
8 years old and just hit me with the GM right out of the gate. I'm like, oh, fuck, where did I go wrong?
He's secretly been in the Twitter streets. He's a big NFT. All your money, all these years of DFS, and your kid bought some gold apes. Secretly gone. Yeah,
I got the most vast collection of NFTs. Oh man, yeah. So he hit me with that right out of the gate, and that threw me for a loop. I was like, oh man, please no. But that was the
other one people were saying way too much was he's got that dog in him with like the X-ray of the dogs and the
yeah.
It's been used that one's been used too much too, and I'm with you. The him stuff, DC. I said it yesterday on Twitter to you. I did it once, and like I was like, it was fine, and I'm like, I'm not in on it. Like I'm good. Like I did it.
And
once.
The next thing is like the athletes over the years have come up with some pretty creative things. Like they've done some pretty cool things on the basketball court, football field, but I think it's almost time to move on from like the too small thing. Like they're all doing the too small. Like after a while, we can't
move on from too small yet. Too small is too good.
I feel like
but when everyone's doing like they used to do fun, creative things, like everyone's doing that now.
We were doing that at the at the Run Pure Sports Party back in March. I feel like it didn't get mainstream until like fairly recently. So that one, I don't know. I feel like
if you guys are not with the too small, you better be done with the gritty. I'll say that because the gritty happens every single time. It's like literally everyone's go-to celebration. So like you can't say too small is done and then say that gritty hasn't died because the gritty should be dead by now if that's the case.
I'm a gritty guy. I mean, it's my
that's BS. No, everyone gritty.
That's all I see in the youth sports streets. All these kids, they do anything like on the court or the field, they immediately hit the gritty, and that's been going on. That's been going on for a while. Like my son hit I didn't even see him really do the move. They played on like a little league field. He actually hit one over the fence. He comes around, rounds third, gets like 10 feet from home, and like his teammates are yelling, "Hit the gritty!" Next thing I know, he's hitting the gritty going into home plate. I'm like, what are you doing? It's the move though. Yeah, that one is. Yeah, it's going to be tough to get away from that.
I feel like some boomer parents or like referees or coaches would be trying to stop kids from doing the gritty. Gotta play with sportsmanship, right?
Yeah. What's the deal with the soccer here? So how many? There's more. So there's going to be slates like every day, right? Every day.
Yeah, it's still every day, but it's kind of winding down here because we're down to like 10 teams or so left.
2 gamers and showdowns, right? Basically.
But showdowns are good for soccer. So we'll keep it.
We're
going.
Definitely going to have content for it all. And like I said, it's part of the premium product and the guys. Like I can't do it because that would force me to watch soccer and I just can't watch soccer. But the guys have been crushing and I probably missed out on some money, I'm assuming, because of how well everyone's. I mean, according to Big T, he said he goes to the playbook, builds his teams directly off of that. So, I mean, the content's been solid. So,
shout out Rubio and Jamie in particular have been absolutely crushing it. So they deserve some recognition for that for sure.
Phenomenal job. Smaller slate, like I said, so the show will be a little shorter. So make sure we get those likes up. We got 350 watching, 90 likes right now. I'm not even going to throw a number out there. Just get us to an appropriate number, and we'll get to the plays of the day at the end. Hard to kind of pick a number when we don't know how many people are going to show up. So just get the numbers up. You know what our expectation is. We like that 50-50 ratio at least. First game on the slate, we have the Lakers. We have the Cavs, 225 total in this game. Cavs favored by 5. And in terms of news, it looks like Jared Allen is going to play in this game. He's listed as questionable. I just want to pull this up. Listed as questionable. He participated in shoot around. So I definitely lean towards him playing. If he plays, I think he's a play here on a 3-game slate. The price is cheap. Probably won't have his full allotment of minutes, but he can rack things up in a hurry. Now, if he sits, Mobley, Kevin Love become very, very solid plays. Already guys that are in play just because it's a 3-game slate. So that's one thing to consider. I think you also have to look at the guards here, Garland and Mitchell. The Cavs are projected to have some success here. You look at the team totals here, they have the highest team total on the slate at 115. So I think you do want some exposure. Garland, I'd probably lean with Donovan Mitchell. And then on the Lakers side, if you like playing guys when they're hot, there's no one hotter than Anthony Davis, just on fire right now, back-to-back, 71 and then 85. Got to give a shout out to AP. He's kind of been talking about Anthony Davis looking much better lately, and then boom, just kind of goes off 2 games in a row. So in GPPs, definitely a guy I want some exposure to. I think LeBron is, a guy you can play. Don't love him here. I'd much rather play Anthony Davis. And then these secondary pieces on the Lakers are just going to continue to be tough all season long. So don't really love those guys. Toss it over to you, DC. Thoughts here on Lakers Cavs?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of studs to choose from for a 3-game slate, right? You got LeBron and AD obviously on the Lakers, and then a 13K Luka Doncic. Have we seen a 13K player before? I assume probably at some point, but pretty rare to see a player all the way up there. Nikola Jokic obviously having another huge season. So 4, the kind of elite, most expensive players in the entire league available on a 3-game slate. So choosing between them obviously going to be pretty important. Certainly easier said than done. I agree with you in general. Anthony Davis over LeBron, over the last couple of weeks certainly has outscored him the vast majority of the time. I do think in this particular matchup, especially if Jared Allen's in there, I don't think the Cavs really have anybody that can slow down LeBron, right? I mean, who are they playing at the 3? Guys like, Okoro, Chetty Osman, Dean. I think Dean Wade's out, but just not Karis LeVert actually plays kind of the 3. So like one of LeVert, Garland, Donovan Mitchell, like one of these guys is going to have to try to guard LeBron, whereas AD is going to have to deal with Mobley and perhaps Jared Allen down low. So I do think the matchup kind of favors LeBron here. So maybe I'll get a little bit off the board. He's a little bit cheaper as well. I don't mind that. And then, you do have kind of AD and Jokic competing for that center spot on DraftKings. Both of them are only center eligible. So I get it with Anthony Davis, but I'm fine going to LeBron there as well. We'll see with Allen. If he's in, I'm with you. I think you can play him. But if he's in, I think that takes Mobley off the table for me at 7.6K and maybe Kevin Love too. But if he's out, yeah, I do like Mobley and Love. They're going to need those guys' size out there. So that Jared Allen news is certainly important. And then on the Cavs side, I think both Garland and Mitchell are pretty solid plays. I think I would probably limit it to one or the other. If you kind of look at their game logs, it's usually just one or the other that gets there. They're expensive enough where you kind of need the guy that's, making his shots and going off and leading the offense. So I think both guys are fine. I don't have a strong preference between the two. I just, on any individual team, I'd probably limit it to one of the two.
Yeah. Another thing on the slate that's very difficult, someone touched on it in the opening, is lack of value. And when you choose your studs, like that 13K to Luka could make a pretty big difference because we just don't have solid value on this slate. I mean, there is not much stable value. So you might honestly be choosing just one stud per team. And then this, like you kind of alluded to, the savings going from Luka down to like Anthony Davis or something could be substantial in the way you build your teams.
And when there's not good value, like when, there's not really guys that you can project for like 5-6x salary in the value range, 13K is a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they did talk about in the chat, our guy, who was it? Was coaches, J41 DFS, Russell Westbrook. Remember, is a couple years ago when he was just going off like every single night. They did get him above 13K.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, pretty rare. And I don't think I'll be able to get up, unless we get unexpected news. I don't think I'll end up getting all the way up to Luka. But as we know, I feel like Luka's on the slate every time we're on a show together, man. And I always refer to you as the Luka whisperer over there because I get him wrong a lot.
Yeah, he has aligned on a lot of these Tuesdays.
Yeah,
and, I feel like he must be on Fridays too, because on that Friday show, I feel like we're always talking about him. Mangone, how are you handling Anthony Davis? The heater that he's on, and then this potential Jared Allen news, which I do think he does play, listed questionable, but participated in shoot around. And then any other thoughts here in this Lakers and Cavs game?
Yeah, I think Allen plays as well, and that's going to hurt Mobley. It is going to hurt Kevin Love, who already is kind of a value we like. He could still be a good value, I think, with even Jared Allen in, but it does hurt him a little bit. Going to AD and LeBron, let's talk about some of these Lakers. So LeBron is kind of one of those stars. He's on this weird spot where typically you don't have a gap like this. Donovan Mitchell's 8.7K. Then it goes LeBron at 10.4 and then 80 at 11.2. You understand how big of a gap that is? That's crazy, the gap that you see there. So I think overall, when you look at it, LeBron's a good play. He's one of those studs that you feel like if you gain some value, you might be able to squeeze him in. And then the next week you might be able to squeeze in his AD. It gets really difficult to squeeze in someone like Nikola Jokic, right? Not Jokic, sorry, Luka Doncic. DC, you said I kind of have had a good read on Luka. I think Luka could have a massive game today, but I also think he could go for a massive game and it'd be tough to get him in your lineup still, right? It depends. The mid-tier would also have to fail and the value would also have to help get it there. So that's one of the debates that you're going to have. There are some value plays that we can kind of mess around with and see if we can do some creative values, which we're on that kind of slate where if you want to get one of these studs, you need to make up your own values. You need to just kind of be hey, this guy needs to have a higher projection. You're going to just have to do it yourself and say, I'm betting on one of these guys to do that. So some other values that we are looking at on the Lakers side that could be intriguing. Dennis Schroeder, I think, is in the conversation at 4.1K. His minutes have been good, 30, 29, 30, 31, 29. Yes, you do worry that he could give you a bad score, but the upside is there. He's someone you have to consider as a value play. I also wouldn't hate Austin Reeves because of the minutes that he has been getting. He definitely seems like he's someone that's kind of a staple of this team right now. 31, 31, 35, 32, 25 minutes. Yes, you can get some down floor games, but if you're looking for guys to get minutes, he needs to be in that conversation. One more Laker I want to mention. We talked about the LeBron and AD thing. If you can get to them, sure, but they're not that easy to get to. Because you're going to see more balanced builds today. And by balanced builds, I mean basically Donovan Mitchell and below. If you play these Heat values, you just can't play all the chalk around the Heat values. You're not going to find anywhere to be different with your lineup. So how can we do that? Russell Westbrook at 6.5K, I think could be a way to do that. Or maybe making a pivot to a Lonnie Walker at 4.6K, who only saw 25 minutes recently, but he was banged up. He saw 34 the game before. And maybe you see Lonnie Walker kind of gain a little bit more run again and kind of shoot a little bit better. So I think 4.6K is not a bad tag on Lonnie Walker, a guy that won't pop up as much as some other options like Tim Hardaway Jr., who we'll get to, is going to be one of the chalkiest plays on the slate. And we know how Tim Hardaway Jr. can be. So we'll talk about that in the last game. But I think Lonnie Walker's an interesting pivot off it. And I think the Westbrook pivot at guard is not a bad one to consider. Cleveland, obviously, if Allen's in, that's going to hurt the guys we talked about. Mitchell, Garland, both good plays. I think a lot of teams are jamming both. I don't mind the idea of just trying to grab one of them and call it a day. And then Karis LeVert at 4 or 5. He does have upside at that price, and I think you could take a shot on it, but understand the floor. This is a 3-game slate. And my biggest worry with playing a Karis LeVert is, do you want to make a team that goes Karis LeVert, Austin Reeves, and then Tim Hardaway Jr., all these guys that have really bad floors? That's not a parlay I'm trying to hit on this slate. So if I play a Karis LeVert, I'm going to think about how I roster some of the other options in my lineup and not take too many guys that have really low floors, because I understand that, yes, the ceiling's great, but you can just have too many bad floor plays that sink your lineups.
Russell Westbrook thing's pretty interesting. When you pull it up, he's actually been playing relatively well. 34 fantasy points, 3 out of the last 4 games. The price point is one that you might have to land on quite a bit, like that mid 6K range. the double, as it stands now, like double studs probably out of play. All right, let's just say you put in Anthony Davis and Jokic, you're left with 4 or 5. Good luck building a team with 6 dudes, 4.5K on average and below. It's just not going to happen.
I could argue good luck building a team with one of them. It's not easy. If you even build with one,
yeah, 5-5. Yeah, you got to find 7 guys that average 5-5. Like that's going to be tough too.
It's viable, especially if, let's say, Kyle Lowry gets ruled out. Well, yes, that could gain you some other values, but let's even say Kyle Lowry's ruled in. You still think with Jimmy Butler out, these Heat guys are just like immensely great mid-tier options. So if you feel like you have to jam in Lowry, you jam in Hero, and you jam in Bam Adebayo, where on earth am I getting Anthony Davis? How am I getting that with the value? The only way you might be able to is if Lowry does get ruled out, and then you get Gabe Vincent, some of these other options. But actually, I kind of want to circle back. If Lowry's ruled in, that would actually make it where these Heat guys are really good plays and would actually hurt your spending up options as well. So like just grabbing a stud today is not going to be easy. It will make you different. And that's why I mentioned if you play one of these studs, you're either going to have to sacrifice one of these mid-tier guys like a Donovan Mitchell or a Darius Garland, or if you want to try and jam them in, you're going to have to create your own value plays. You're going to have to say, hey, let me try and play like Tim Hardaway Jr., Maxi Kleber, and like Austin Reeves. And again, playing all those guys, you could run into a landmine for sure.
Now we have 550 people watching. So now I have something to go off of. We got 168. Let's say 100 more, 268. Throw out a weird number today. So you need 268 to get to the plays of the day. So hit that like and also hit the subscribe so you get notified whenever we go live, which is very often. We have a lot of shows each and every day. Pistons Heat 220.5 total. Miami favored by 7. News in this game, obviously Jimmy Butler out. We're waiting on Kyle Lowry news, which you talked about in the opening. Gabe Vincent listed as questionable as well. Pretty significant news for the slate. Obviously, it's only 3 games, so that's what makes it even more significant. If Kyle Lowry's in, I like him. 6.7K on DK. I think he's a fine option. Played a lot of him early on in the season. The price, went up because he was going off when all these guys are out. Well, now the prices come down a little bit, but need to make sure that he's in. Tyler Hero will be a popular play regardless, but if Lowry's out, it'll be even more popular. And then 2 values that people are just going to kind of be forced to play: Caleb Martin, Max Struss. And this might surprise you guys, but I actually really like Bam Adebayo on the slate at 8K. I mean, I never really play him. I think it's a really good matchup for him. The situation's already solid with Jimmy Butler out, and it can only get better if Kyle Lowry were to miss. Pistons side, very tough team. I think probably the toughest team on the slate to get to. Yes, Cade Cunningham's out, but he's been out for a while, and the price tags have come up on all these guys. Killian Hayes, 6'2", Jaden Ivey, 6'6", Bogdanovich, 6'8". He's probably my favorite, but tough price tags on the slate on the Pistons side, and the matchup obviously is not great against Miami. So Miami's going to be a popular team. How popular probably depends on the status of Kyle Lowry. I think they did just say Oladipo is on track to play. I haven't seen anything in terms of minutes. I imagine it can't be that many, but it's definitely a slight downgrade to a lot of these guys. Mangone, I'll go to you first. Pistons Heat, what do you got here?
Yeah, is that Oladipo news that just came in. So I'm curious if the other stuff comes in. Intends to play to be a game time decision.
Yeah, he'll play.
Even if he's guard is kind of like guard on the Heat. It's kind of like once you if you get rid of Kyle Lowry and Gabe Vincent somehow, it really does start to drop off. So that Oladipo stuff is kind of intriguing. We'll have to see. One beat writer that's pretty good is Ira Winderman. He's really good at kind of giving you some information on stuff. So that's something we'll try to post in the Discord chat. If you haven't gotten the Discord, it's a great time to do it. Get in there. We have tons of information for you guys and might have some interesting leans that might help you out and kind of get you there. So, but I think Tyler Hero probably going to be one of the better plays on this slate. I think back to one of the 3-game slates that we played maybe a couple weeks ago, maybe it was 3-4 weeks ago, and we talked about Tobias Harris, and we said value's not good on this slate. But you know what's good about Tobias Harris? The minutes. The minutes are great. Just grab them minutes. And 40, 39, 37, 40 on this slate. I think I'm going to grab someone that's playing some pretty healthy minutes. So I'm in on Tyler Hero. He's going to be popular, but I think he's one of the better Heat options on this slate. Bam Adebayo comes in as probably the second best Heat option. I don't have Lowry in there just because he's questionable. I mean, I like him a lot, but I don't know where he's going to rank and grade out. I don't know if he's going to actually play. That could change stuff, but Bam Adebayo at 8K is a really interesting option. And I think Dwayne Dedmon's status does help Bam Adebayo even more, because if he's not in there, then it secures Bam's minutes to be 36 to like 40 guaranteed, because they don't like playing Jovic anyways that much. They only play him when they have to. So I think that's obviously going to help him out a lot. If you're looking for kind of create your own value plays, I think Highsmith is kind of interesting here. He has actually been a decent producer. And if they are thin, let's say you get Dedmon ruled out, well, he's going to have to play at like the 3 and the 4 a little bit. And then if you lose a Gabe Vincent or a Kyle Lowry, that forces more guards to have to play. I don't think Oladipo is just going to go out of nowhere and play 30 minutes. They're going to have him on some type of like pitch count, I think, with his minutes. So I think Highsmith could be this interesting value play that people aren't really thinking about right now. Who knows if it'll emerge as an interesting play based on the news and based on the projections. But right now at this time, I don't think people are looking at him that much. So I don't hate it. Max Struss at 5.3. I don't love that price tag. I think there's other guys I would rather take chances on. Even Caleb Martin, I'm not dying to get to, but he could be a guy that plays between 30 and 40 minutes based on how the news falls. So need to kind of see how that kind of shakes out. But overall, this is a situation that we're going to be monitoring. We'll be in the Discord monitoring. We'll break it down for you guys there. On top of that, we'll be, going into the content and updating everything. And these guys will be in core plays, and we'll be wanting to play a lot of them. And because we want to play them, I think if you're playing 3 to 4, that's perfectly fine. But again, you're going to have to find other ways to be different with your lineup from the field, because a lot of people are going to be doing this. And there's just not a lot of good value on this slate. Now let's go over to the Detroit Pistons side, because Killian Hayes is 6.2K, and he's been playing great. But do I really want to pay 6.2K for Killian Hayes? That is something I'm trying to debate, and it's not an easy tag to stomach. Jaden Ivey as well. And also, these guys are only guard eligible. And I think some of your guard spots are going to be allocated to these Heat options. So they'll naturally won't have as much ownership. Bogdanovich is 6'8". That's another tag I'm like, man, I struggle with going to. But if the game is competitive, he could be a really interesting run back option. He's more of a last guy in on these mid-tier builds that I think could be contrarian. Let's say you play 4 Heat guys and you play that mid-tier build. How many people are going to throw in Bogdanovich? I don't think many are going to actually go and do that. He's not going to be 5% owned, but on these slates, an 18% Bogdanovich who goes for 40, that could certainly be enough. So I think that's interesting. Saddiq Bey is one of those guys. If he gains ownership, zero interest, because I know what his floor is. If he has not a lot of ownership, his ceiling could be intriguing. And then if we kind of dive into Isaiah Stewart, I don't like him as much because of that matchup. It's just Bam Adebayo is not an easy spot for him. I'm not dying to get there. So on the Pistons side, it's really mainly looking at Bogdanovich as one of these last guys in. And then the Heat side, yes, we're waiting on the news, but there's going to be some great plays, and you're going to want to get exposure to him. If you fade Heat tonight, I think you're going to have a tough night for sure. You just have to find a way to be unique with the way you play the Heat or with the way you play the rest of your lineup.
Yeah, make sure to get in the Discord. A lot of our coordinators will be in there answering questions, a lot of members. I don't think there's up to lock today. I was just pulling up the schedule. I think there's no up to lock just because it's a 3-game slate. So you'll definitely want to be in the Discord to get those questions answered, because it is slate changing news. DC, thoughts here on the Pistons and Heat?
Yeah, the Pistons side, I mean, as of now, I'm really not planning to play many, if any, Pistons at all. I think my favorite is Killian Hayes. Running the point, he's played pretty well since Cunningham has gone down. I do think he's got some upside there. So I don't mind that play at 6.2K, but right now I'm not planning to play him. But yeah, the Heat side, like Van Gunn said, is really interesting. One thing I'll disagree with a little bit about, worrying too much about getting different. I think you're going to see spread out ownership tonight. Like, there's all these value plays, right? I mean, what do we mention? Like 3 or 4 of them on the Lakers: Schroeder, Austin Reeves. You could play Troy Brown Jr., right? There's all these kind of dust balls. Every team has some of them that people are going to have to play. I think they're going to be mixed and matched. I think, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland are going to kind of split ownership there. And I think the 4 studs, LeBron, AD, Luka, and Jokic are all kind of going to be, not. I mean, who's going to be the highest owned among those guys? It's not even entirely clear to me. Yeah. So I do think there's just a lot of different ways you can go. So some of the, the plays that you can lock in the value. I mean, Tyler Hero to me seems like almost a must play, definitely a must play if Kyle Lowry's out. And then even if he's in there, I want to play Hero, just the minutes that he's playing. No Jimmy Butler. I mean, great matchup. I love targeting guards that can create their own shot against the Pistons. Those guys have been just crushing it all year long. So yeah, Hero, I think maybe the first guy in the lineup for me tonight. I don't mind playing him with Lowry if Lowry plays. But this Heat news, we're going to have to watch it closely because, I mean, even Hero himself he's listed probable. But, like, if you look at this team, I mean, everyone that at least has, the Q tag next to him on DraftKings, I mean, it's Lowry, Oladipo, Vincent, Struss, Hero, Dedmon, Highsmith, right? Duncan Robinson, this whole team at least potentially could sit out. So we'll see. The Heat have been known to kind of pull some weird stuff, do some weird starting lineups. So it's going to be kind of critical, obviously, to adjust to that news in the next couple of hours. Of course, in the Discord, we'll be breaking all that down. But Hero, my favorite guy here. I'll be in on Lowry if he does play. If Lowry's out and Vincent is in, 3.1K for a team really kind of shorthanded at the guard. I think you can go there. And I'm with you on Bam Adebayo, especially if Dedmon sits. They're going to need him. Detroit kind of rotates between three traditional centers. And if Dedmon's out, I think they're going to need Bam's size and rebounding out there. I mean, their only other real center, I mean, they got Jovic, I guess, and then Haslam, but I would assume it'd be big minutes for Bam. So I think he's a very strong play. We'll just have to see who Miami runs out there, but potentially, I could see 3, 4, maybe 5 Heat if a couple more of these guys end up sitting on lineups. And I wouldn't even be that worried about running it back with Detroit. Honestly, I don't really think in basketball you need to do that necessarily, especially on a 3-game slate. So could be a situation where we play a bunch of Heat and kind of fill out our lineups from there, just depending on, who sits out among these guys.
Yeah, the one point I think was very solid. If Lowry's out and Gabe Vincent is in, 3.1K, I mean, he'll probably get some ownership, but man, like that's the cheap guy to make a lot of things work. This game is at 7:30 Eastern. That's when the slate locks. So we're going to have the news. It's just a matter of when and what we do with it.
And I haven't seen Oladipo minutes, but he hasn't played.
It's got to be low. Yeah, it's got to be super low.
I would guess like 10 to 12 minutes, like 5 to 6 minutes, one shift at each half would be my guess on Oladipo. I haven't seen a number there, but they're obviously being super cautious. And I would be really, really surprised if he played more than 20.
On the likes, we're sitting at 245. I may have undershot it, but it'll be a little bit of a freebie for you guys. Just need the 268. One more game, and then we'll get to the plays of the day. So make sure you guys hit that like. Also hit the subscribe. We have Dallas. We have Denver. The total in this one, 222.5. Denver favored by 5. Kind of talked about it a little bit already. Luka has the big boy price tag, 13K. He deserves it. He's been phenomenal. Only played 29 minutes last night. So the back-to-back, nothing to really worry about. You put up 60 fantasy points in that 29-minute stretch. I have a feeling because of the price tag that I'm not saying he's going to be low owned, but he has a chance, I think, to be lower owned than the other guys because it's going to be hard to get to him. Mangone had mentioned Tim Hardaway Jr., 4.4K on DraftKings. He's going to get a good chunk of ownership. He's a little more expensive over on FanDuel. But Denver's a tough team for fantasy purposes. Christian Wood, maybe in tournaments, obviously the minutes are always going to be a concern, but they've been up a little bit lately, and he played 27 last night, went for 36 fantasy points. On the Nugget side, probably going to have to consider some of these secondary pieces out of necessity. Bruce Brown, Aaron Gordon, and then Jamal Murray has a good price tag over on FanDuel. I guess he's 7.1 on both sites, but the way it works out, that's a little bit cheaper on FanDuel. So I like Jamal Murray quite a bit on FanDuel. So it's probably the best game on the slate, but the fantasy piece is somewhat tough to get to, especially Luka at that 13K. We'll stick with you, DC. Thoughts here on this one?
Yeah, obviously between Luka and Jokic, big choice there. There's no way I don't think you could possibly even play both of those guys. without really.
Yeah, that sounds fun to be able to play them both, but man, I just don't know how you do it.
So yeah, I'll lean Jokic here at home. He's better at home. He kind of always has been in Denver. Makes sense. And Denver is actually 20 games for Jokic this year. 13 of them have been on the road, 7 at home. So I do think his kind of overall production is a little bit, depressed, lower than it would be if he had played the same amount of games. So I like him a lot. Dallas really has nobody to compete with them. I mean, what are they going to start with? Dwight Powell, then it's going to be Maxi Kleber on him. Like, yeah, I really think Jokic can carry this team. He's the guy I want on Denver. Brown, Jamal Murray would be next. But, I mean, do those guys really have upside at 7.1K for Murray, 6.1K for Brown with Jokic out there? Again, maybe you don't need it on this slate, but I don't think those guys go for 40 plus very often. So it's going to be mostly Jokic for me, most likely on Denver. Dallas is, I think, more interesting for the value plays. Obviously can play Tim Hardaway Jr., been red hot recently. But nothing has really changed for him, has it, Mangone? They haven't changed up their starting lineup or anything. He's just been kind of making all his shots.
Are you talking about Hardaway Jr.?
Yeah.
He's starting now. So that is kind of some of it, but he is making his shot. They did make a move to put him in the starting lineup, and that kind of did catapult things a little bit, but I don't know, the shots could easily not fall.
You look at his last 4 games, right? 28, 44, 44, 33. We don't have to scroll down very far to find the 4 games prior to that, 6, 6, 8, and 10 fantasy points for Hardaway Jr., right? And
there's a floor. There's a low floor for him. That is for sure. And he's going to be, as it stands now, the most popular value play. Yeah.
And if he's going to be super popular, that's a player with a low floor that's very scoring dependent, shooting dependent. If the shot's not falling, you can just get removed from the game. I mean, it happens. He wasn't starting for a reason. So not that he's a bad play. I totally get why people are playing him. If playing cash games, I would have him in there, but I don't think he's a must play. He can absolutely go gold and probably take 50% of the lineups in these tournaments with him if he does. So I think he's a reasonable fade in tournaments. It's tough. I mean, if he's going to bust, who would it be that would step up on Dallas?
Maybe again, it's such a gross slate. It's you can't. I don't think you can really. Dorian Finney-Smith. He's been awful. You look at the.
He's too expensive. It's value plays. I want them to be cheap because they all kind of seem similar to me, right? So I don't think I would rather go to Josh Green, who's 3,200, played these last 2 games, 31, 27 minutes, playing pretty well. If you listen to, I don't know, some of the non-DFS, just NBA, Zach Lowe type podcasts, that they always talk about how they're impressed with Josh Green. So he could be a player that could step up at 3,200. I like him a little bit, especially if you're fading Hardaway, right? You kind of want to find someone on Dallas that could maybe kind of step into that role and be the value play that people aren't looking at. I think Josh Green, my favorite there. I don't mind Maxi Kleber. He's cheap, 3,400. He's going to at least get, 20 to 30 minutes of run. So probably not likely to hurt you at that price point. So that's just kind of the general thought for a lot of the slate for me is the value plays that I go to. I want them to be below 4K for the most part. When you get into the mid 4s and 5Ks, I think you're playing with fire a little bit.
Yeah, certainly. Mangone, thoughts here in this one, Mavs, Nuggets.
Yeah, I'm going to kick it off with fighting you guys on Dorian Finney-Smith. I actually think he's not as bad of a play as you guys think. I think his minutes are the reason he's always a good play.
He never does anything, though.
Well, so here's the thing. Why hasn't he done anything? You see, there's a story to tell. The Phoenix game.
Because he sucks.
Again, I'm just telling you guys you're wrong here. I feel very confident. 23 minutes because it was a blowout, 31. He shot 1 for 8. Yeah, no kidding. His shot's not falling in and Tim Hardaway Jr. is splashing. That's fine. I'll admit I did play him on the 29th and he did help win me some money. He helped make me a differentiation piece that helped me kind of get my Anfernee Simons. And I think he's one of those values that's safer than people realize. Now, he's not going to go out there and win you the slate at 40, but Yeah, I don't think he's as bad as you guys think, just because I think he could play a pile of minutes. If this game is a competitive game, right? The score is 110 to 111 with like 3 minutes left. That means Dorian Finney-Smith probably is playing 32 to 40 minutes tonight. Like, they're not playing Reggie Bullock as much. If you see why Josh Green's been good, he's been good because the games have blown out and he's gotten in there and played well. That is why he shot decent. The 6-for-7 game, 2-for-6. He got the peripherals there, which is perfectly fine. But those were blowouts against Phoenix and New York. I think that, yes, Josh Green, if you want to punt with him and create a value, that's fine. But I do think if Dorian Finney-Smith is your last piece in, not as bad of a play as you might think. That's just my thoughts there. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. does have a low floor, but he is one of the best values on this slate. So he's someone that I'll think about how I roster him on this slate. I probably won't just go in there and plug in 4 Heat, plug in Tim Hardaway Jr., plug in like one of those Cavs like Mitchell or Garland, who's going to be like the chalkiest. And then I only have 2 spots to be different. I'm not just going to do that. I'm going to think a little bit about how I roster my Tim Hardaway Jr. shares with my Miami Heat shares. So that's something that I'll definitely be considering. Luka and Jokic, they're 2 studs that are hard to get up to for sure. I think Luka is harder to get to, and you're already kind of spending at the center position. I mean, look at the drop off at center. It's 5-1 Kevin Love, and then it goes to 3.6K Jovic, right? Like, you just literally don't have a lot of spend downs. The only spend down center you would really consider today is probably Maxi Kleber, but that's it. And then you're already spending at center. So it doesn't hurt you as much to go up to an 80 or a Jokic. And the price tag is less than going up to Luka, who's at 13K. Listen, I love to play Luka, but at this time right now, I can't get to Luka. It's just not possible for me to get to him. Maybe if we get some value, I'll get there. But right now, I can't get there. It's just not going to happen.
Whoa, damn. Huge baseball news. Sorry to interrupt you. Aaron Judge to the Giants.
Oh, he officially went to the Giants? That's
Man,
awesome.
he's not hitting no 62 homers next year.
They might move that ballpark in a little bit.
Yeah, they might have to. Wow, that's crazy.
He doesn't need short fences, man. He can go anywhere.
I'll take the under on 60.
Well, yes.
That's definitely big news for sure in the baseball world.
Can't wait to troll some Yankees fans on Twitter tonight. That'll be
yeah, I'm definitely texting when I get off the show, I'm texting the Yankees fans and getting
man,
for sure.
Nuts.
I did want to talk about Jamal Murray for sure. He's another guy at 7.1K that it does feel a little pricey, but he's one of those guys that can get hot. And if I'm looking for differentiation plays within my mid-tier guys, like, not saying Jamal Murray is going to come out here and be like this guy who's like 5%, but he's probably going to be like between 15 and maybe like 25%. I doubt it gets steamed up to like 30 or anything like that. And on these slates, those are kind of guys that are big difference makers for you on 3 gamers. So I definitely think Jamal Murray is an interesting guy that I'm considering getting exposure to. We are waiting on some news with like what's going to happen with KCP, what's going to happen with like Jeff Green. Those are guys that we are going to be thinking a little bit about here. So if like a Jeff Green is out, their front court is thin. Like a Kankar at 3-3, who's been getting some run, he could come into play if those guys are out. But we might not have that news in time too to make that decision. So overall, it's tough to obviously get to a lot of these guys in this game. I think you're looking at some Maverick value plays like Maxi Kleber. Tim Hardaway Jr. is the chalkiest. Like I said, I like the Dorian Finney-Smith. I think he could be interesting. You could take some stabs on a Josh Green, but it's tough down here for value plays. And on Denver, you're looking at more of these mid-tier guys. It's like an Aaron Gordon. Maybe it's a Jokic as a spend. Maybe it's a Bruce Brown, but I struggle with Bruce Brown. I can't really get to him today. I'd rather find the money to go up to a Jamal Murray at 7.1K instead.
Oh, they said the dude retracted the tweet. He said it's not official yet. Wow. Hyman, he's like one of the main baseball dudes, right?
Yeah, he's a total donkey though.
Yeah. Wow. How do you release that and not be final?
Judge, he was kind of I think the Giants were the favorites to get him. So I wasn't shocked to hear it. But
I do think they are the favorite to get him. It did sound like he wasn't going to stay there.
Man. All right, that'll do it for the NBA talk. Make sure, like we said, get in the Discord to get your questions answered, and we'll be breaking down the news as it breaks throughout the slate. The Miami news, very, very important, kind of dictates what you're able to do on the slate. Let's get to the plays of the day. You guys got there, 313. I'll go first with the Rich Parents play of the day. I'm going to a guy that I talk so much shit about on these shows, and I get a lot of backlash for it. I'm going to Bam today. I think Bam gets the job done. And like I said, the news can only get better for him. Already solid without Jimmy. kind of, that 40-point floor. We've seen it recently. Give me Bam as the rich parents play of the day. Next, we'll go to Mangone, Sweet Travis play of the day. Who do you got for us?
Yeah, it's a tough one today. Like, you don't have all these, like, it's hard to grab like a 2% guy or anything like that. I'm going to go with Jamal Murray at 7.1K. I think he has a lot of upside. We know he can get hot. I get it. It might not be the easiest matchup in the world, but I'm just kind of betting on a guy that I think could be a little bit lower, that if he gets hot and gets rolling, and without Michael Porter Jr., they're going to need his scoring. So I think Jamal Murray at 7.1K is going to be a nice differentiator in the mid-tier balanced build that can kind of help get you to the top leaderboard. So give me Jamal Murray as my play of the day.
All right. And lastly, we go down to Mom's Basement for the Mom's Basement play of the day. DC, who do you have for us?
Yeah, we'll go for a true basement dweller. My friend coming over to play video games and eat bagel bites, Josh Green, sitting at 3,200. Seeing him around 1% ownership, which I think is too low for a guy that's going to get minutes. He's super cheap. Like I said, I do want to get down as cheap as possible for most of these value plays today. So Josh Green, Mom's Basement play today.
That is a true basement play. There is no denying that. Yeah. Very suitable for the Mom's Basement play of the day. Yeah. All right, that is going to do it for us. Like I said, no Up to Lock show today, so make sure you get in that Discord to get the breakdown of all the news. We'll be back tomorrow, obviously, with another edition of the NBA Hardwood for Mangone, for DC. I am Hoop. Good luck tonight in your contest.